What's up, my little children? It's your most favorite teacher here. We are going to talk about adding and subtracting and classifying polynomials today. So it is day one of our new unit, Lego. Our unit is over polynomials. So today we're going to talk about how to classify, and we're going to talk about how to add and subtract monomials, binomials, and trinomials. First thing we need to review is what is a like term. Holy cow, Coach Sapp, you cannot write. All right, a like term is the same variable raised to the same power. So the same variable raised to the same power are like terms. So we are going to simplify these polynomials. A polynomial is a monomial, a binomial, a trinomial, or etc., etc. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to look for like terms. Now, this negative right here, or this minus sign, is a negative 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to distribute that negative 1. So if it's me, I'm going to rewrite this expression as 5a plus 9b. I didn't touch that, so I'm going to bring it down. But now I've got a negative 1 times a 2a. That's going to give me a negative 2a. And I've got negative 4b. Now I'm looking for like terms. My like terms are 5a and negative 2a. I can combine those and get 3a. I've got a positive 9b and a negative 4b. Koala bear, koala bear. That's a positive 5b. That's your answer. You cannot combine those any farther because that's an apple, that's an orange. A and B are not the same variable. Again, like terms are the same variable raised to the same power. Next expression, number 2, I've got 5x squared. So I'm looking for other x squareds. Those will be my like terms. I've got a plus sign here, so I don't really have to distribute the plus sign because it would stay positive. So I'm looking at 5x squared and a positive 2x squared. That's going to give me 7x squareds. The next thing I'm looking at is this negative x. This is a positive 3x. So when I combine those, I get positive 2x. And then last but not least, I have coefficients of negative 7 and positive 4. That's going to give me a negative 3. Notice that I have written this in what we call standard form. That is in descending exponent order. So this is x to the second power. This is x to the first power. And this is x to the 0 power. There is no variable here. That's what we call standard form. Always, always, always need to write it in standard form. Descending order. Going on to number 3, I've got 5x squared and a 2x squared. Combine those and I get 7x squared. I've got a negative x, positive 3. That is the exact same problem as that. Sorry, guys. So let's see. Make sure we're right. Negative x, positive 2x. That's a positive 2x. And then last but not least, our coefficients give me a negative 3. Yay, we got the same answer. All right, let's go on to number 4. Number 4, I've got a 7x squared and a negative 3x squared. So once again, we need to distribute this negative because that's going to be 7x squared minus 3x squared. That's going to give me a positive 4x squared. Now let's go to our x's. We've got a positive x minus negative 4x. So now this is a negative 3x squared if I'm distributing. This is a positive because a negative times a negative gives me a positive 4x, and then a positive 3. So I combine these, those went away. I've got a positive x and a positive 4x. It gives me a positive 5x. And then I've got a positive 1 and a positive 3. That gives me a positive 4. That is why I would recommend you distributing that negative. Okay, because this is a positive x minus negative 4x. It's not just x minus 4x. That gives me a positive 5x. Don't screw yourself up. Alright, moving on. Chugga, 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 chugga. 5x plus 3z plus 9x. So here's a like term, here's a like term. We can combine those and we get 14x plus 3z. z. That's it. You cannot go any farther. Those are not like terms. Number 7, once again, distribute your negative sign. So we've got x squared minus 3x minus 2x squared minus 5x. Now let's look for those like terms. X squared minus 2x squared, so we get a negative x squared. We've got a negative 3x and a negative 5x. That's a negative 8x. Again, notice that is in standard form, descending order. Last one, let's go. Distribute your negative. 6a minus 8a minus 5b. Here are my like terms. We combine those, we get negative 2a minus 5b. Looking at section number 2, I want to classify the polynomial by the degree, the number of terms, and I want to name the leading coefficient. Now, once again, make sure that it is in standard form, so my variables are written in descending order. Excuse me, my exponents are written in descending order. So in this example, number 9, I have negative 2a to the third plus 5a to the first plus 1. I could say a to the 0, I just don't. So if I want to classify the polynomial, this has 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms. Any polynomial that has 3 terms is what we call a trinomial. Holy smokers. Trinomial, okay, like a tricycle. Tri means 3. So the polynomial, okay, classify the polynomial, trinomial. So the number of terms is 3 terms. And then its degree is the exponent of the biggest variable, right? So this is to the third power, so it has a degree of 3. Now the leading coefficient, I'm just going to say LC, is the number in front of that term. Well, that's a negative 2. So it's a trinomial, number of terms, 3 terms, 1, 2, 3, trinomial. It has a degree of 3. The exponent is to the third power degree. And then the leading coefficient is the number out in front of that first term, if it is in standard form. Going on to number 10, I have 2 terms here. We call that a binomial, right? Like a tricycle, bicycle, tricycle. So bi means 2. A degree is the exponent. So once again, that has a degree of 2 this time, because that is g squared. And then the leading coefficient is the number in front of this, which is 4. Number 11, same thing. I've got 2 terms. That would be a binomial. Degree of 1, because that is x to the first power. And then the leading coefficient is also 1, because there's an understood 1 in front of this x. Number 12, once again, you guessed it, that's a binomial. Degree 2 this time, because that is an x squared, deuce. And then my leading coefficient is equal to 6. 13, look at that, that's a binomial. 2 terms. Degree, uno. Because again, this is x to the first power, we just don't write it, it's understood. And also there is an understood 1 in front of that x, so the leading coefficient is equal to uno. Last one, that is only 1 term, that's what we call a monomial. Mono means 1, right? Degree of also 1, because that is z to the first power. And then that leading coefficient, that sucker has a leading coefficient of negative 3. Moving on to the next page, we're going to look at some examples on adding and subtracting. Starting with number 1, we're going to add these together. Again, we're looking for like terms. First thing I see is a 4x squared. I don't see any more x squared, so let's go ahead and bring it down. 4x squared. Next thing I go is x, negative 3x to the first power, plus 9x. So we've got 9 minus 3. That gives me a plus 6x. And now I'm looking at the coefficients, the constants, excuse me. I've got a negative 3 and a positive 2. So negative 3, positive 1, that gives me a negative deuce. Again, this is in standard form. We are writing the variables in descending order. All right, number 2. I've got an x to the 4th. Notice that I started there because, again, standard form, I'm looking for the biggest exponent first. The biggest exponent I see is x to the 4th. So I've got a 5x to the 4th and then a minus 2x to the 4th. 5 minus 2 is 3. And I do not touch the exponents, right? So 3x to the 4th. Next thing I'm looking at is this x cubed, going in descending order. So negative x cubes, I don't see any more x cubes, so let's bring it down. Next thing I'm going to is the x squareds. Positive 3 minus 1. So if you got $3, you subtract 1, you got $2. So 2x squared. And last but not least, we've got plus 7x plus 6x. That gives me a plus 13x. We're done. Number 3, looking at h squareds. We add those together. We get 8h squared. Now we're going to h to the 1st power, which is the last sucker right there, that sucker right there. We've got a negative 6. We've got a negative 6, and we're going to add 1.2 to it. So we get a negative 4.8 h. And then we've got a plus 3 here. Moving right along, number 4. First thing I'm looking at is this x to the 4th power. That's the biggest exponent I see, so I'm starting there. So a negative 3 and a negative 1, I get negative 4 x to the 4th. Going to go down 1, so down 1 would be x to the 3rd. So looking at that sucker right there, that sucker right there. You've got a positive 2 and then a negative 2. Guess what? Those go away. Yay! Alright, now I'm going to go down 1 again. I've got x squared. I don't see any more x squareds. So let's bring that sucker down. Now I'm going right here. 4x. I don't see any more x's. And last but not least, plus 3 plus 8. That gives me a plus 11. Now let's go to some subtracting examples. So once again, if it's me, I'm distributing this negative. So let's rewrite this. I've got 4x squared minus 3x plus 1 minus 9x plus 3. How did I get a plus? It's a minus negative. Change, and I get plus 3. Alright, now let's look for like terms. I've got a 4x squared. That's the only x squared I see. Bring that puppy down. I've got a negative 3 and a negative 9. I get negative 12x and then plus 5. Man, Coach Sapp, this is hard. I know, right? So same thing here. I want to distribute my negative to every term you see inside that parentheses. Here we go. 6x minus 2x to the 4th plus 3x squared. And now I've got minus 5x to the 4th. Plus, because a negative times a negative, plus x to the 3rd minus 7x plus x squared. Now, let's look for them like terms. We got that one right there, that one right there. So a negative 2, negative 5, that's a negative 7x to the 4th. Again, I started there because that's the biggest exponent I see. Next biggest is x to the 3rd. I don't see any more x to the 3rds, so let's bring it down. Next biggest is x squared. There she is. There she is. Plus 4x squared. Last but not least, we've got a negative 7x to the 1st, positive 6x to the 1st. That's a negative x to the 1st. Now, let's say you wrote it as that. Is that wrong? No, it's not wrong. We just don't write it. It's just extra fluff. That means the exact same thing. All right, 2 more. Bear with me. Here we go. Again, distribute your negative. Let's rock. 1.2h plus 3.5h squared equals, minus 4.5h squared plus 6h, negative times a negative, minus 3. Here we go. Like term, like term. Combine them. We get a negative 1.5h squared. Now we've got a like term plus 6h. Like term, those are both positive. We got plus 7.2h. Last but not least, we have this minus 3. Now, if it helps you to mark it out as you combine them, do it. So in that, what I mean by that is, I've got a negative 4.5h squared, and I combined it with a 3.5. Coach Sapp, you are not correct. That is negative 1h squared. I'm glad I looked at that. Thank you for pointing that out, guys. Coach Sapp makes mistakes too. So negative 4.5, excuse me, plus 3.5, that gives me a negative 1h squared. So I combine those, that goes away. I combine this 6h with this positive 1.2h, and I got 7.2h. That goes away, and now you can see that the only thing left is this negative 3. So if you want to cross them out as you're combining, you're more than welcome to. Like I always say, you do you, boo-boo. Last one, here we go. 4x minus 3x to the fourth minus 2x cubed plus 3. Now, distribute your negative. Minus 8 plus x to the fourth minus 2x cubed minus x squared. Now, here we go. Like terms. Same variable, same power. Starting with the biggest, x to the fourth. So I've got a negative 3 and I add 1. Okay, so positive 1. This is a negative 3. This is a positive 1. I get negative 2x to the fourth. Go down 1. I'm looking at x to the third, which is this one right here. Negative 2x to the third. Negative 2x to the third. Negative 4x to the third. Let's go ahead and cross those out because we combine them. We combine them. Next thing I'm going to is x squared. So I'm looking here at negative x squared. I don't see anymore. That goes away. Next thing I'm going to is x to the first. Right here. 4x to the first. I don't see anymore. That went away. Last but not least, I've got a plus 3. I've got a minus 8. That gives me a minus 5. Boys and girls, that's how it's done.